Okay, I'll come bring it. Thank you.
Take a week. I didn't play last week, but it's good for me to take a rest. You're playing every week.
It's just a medium. Like, I just can't.
I'm gonna tell you.
It's frustrating. I'm like, I didn't have that problem ever.
There's some kid out there who can play out 30-year-old. They were shooting the lights out. And it was me and Ron against the three of them. And of course, I'm covering two people. So I'm after the 3-point line, back and forth. So he's getting his open shots outside. And he was supposed to be there last week, but I couldn't play last week.
For hours.
Yeah, I know. He just sat out the 3-point line. Well, the good thing was he never really took rebounds. He just sat out there the 3-point line giving a shot. So he wasn't that aggressive on going and getting.
I can say he's one of those guys who doesn't like to play. Like physical basketball.
So, but if he can do well, I'll just play out there. We had 4 games to 11 last week. And I'm telling you what, I was pretty tired of getting that.
Yeah. I try to do it better. I had my body stuff.
I get mine at TV.
Yeah, no, I'll try to do it. I can't do it as frequently, though.
Oh, I know, you don't either. Well, we get 5 or 6 out there regularly, so it's good. All right, good to see you, man.
Monday through Friday, and there's a little, I don't know if you noticed, there's a little hut, two-story hut behind one player, and there's 3 positions in there. There's somebody who's the official, there's somebody who's the official, the scoreboard operator, and then there's the announcer. Yeah, so I do announcing. Hey, Angie. Yeah. Angie. Here is this week's starting third tonight. Tommy's High Techie versus the Astros. The guy in the PA got it elected. Bob it's 4 up in Carolina. It starts at 6 o'clock. So then there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we have 2 open slots here for now. And that's because the guy came from the road. Yeah. So it's back. Yes, I'm glad I got my piece. I had it a couple years ago because I was vaccinated with my case. Good with that? You want some water?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah.
No.
Oh, wow. That our door.
Yeah, this hill was
No.
Well, good morning, Robson Ranch. Some of you have not had your coffee yet this morning, I can tell. And there is coffee and water over here. Hi, I'm Diane Edmondson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm your county commissioner for here on the Precinct 4 in Denton County. I live in Robson Ranch. I love Robson Ranch. And thank you all for coming this morning. We really appreciate it. I'd first of all like to ask any veterans in the audience to please stand. I want to thank you all for your service. Y'all stand. Thank you, dear. Thank you all so much. We really, really appreciate you. Robson's a very patriotic and veteran-oriented community, and we just wanted to thank you this morning. So now let's start with the pledges to our country and our state. I'm going to ask David Blassingame, who lives here in Robson, to lead us in those. David?
Everybody would stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. I can tell there's lots of immigrants here. And that's just fine. We love y'all. And next time I'll try to remember to get the words put up there for you. Y'all, we have kind of a special treat this morning that I don't think was advertised. But has anybody noticed there's some stuff going in across from our main gate? Looks like might be shops and stuff like that. I thought y'all might like to know what's going in. Are you interested in that? Okay, let me introduce to you Craig Wilkinson, who is the President of Development for Office Equity Solutions. That's his slide up here on the screen. Craig, would you like to come up here, or you can speak from there? As long as you get a mic. Somebody give him a mic, please. Thank you.
Okay, you mean to come over there or just stay right here?
Why don't you come on over here, and that way they can see the thing behind you. Just make sure you turn the mic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Diane, and thank you all for coming here. My name's Craig Wilkinson. I'm with Office Equity Solutions. We're a local developer, and we think of ourselves as neighborhood commercial developers, and that's what you're looking at today. We've been around for a long time. We buy a lot of property from Hillwood over the last 30 years, and we've just kind of moved right up north on 35 as it's developed. We've just come along right with them all the way down from Basswood right up here to Robson. So, in our latest development is what you're looking at here. It's 9.5 acres. It's going to be about 70,000 square feet, medical, retail, and a restaurant. When it's all said and done, as you can see, the little squares that are filled in there, those are lease spaces. And I can read them to you. So we call it the ridge east and west, and so the part on y'all's right is the east side. And the tenants that we have in there so far is a 10,000 square foot golf cart showroom, which is on the very far right, which is standing there. It's a vertical building as of right now. Yes, ma'am. Guy's name's Terry Hunley, and he'll be starting his finish out just probably this week. Try to open in March. The other building is a 12,000 square foot building, and it's got a creamery, but we've signed a lease with a nail salon, a med spa, a bubble tea, a donut shop, and a beauty salon currently, and that will that'll be 100% leased. And the other two buildings that are shown to y'all's left on that same piece of property is, I'm not at liberty to actually tell you who that is probably going to purchase that property quite yet, so, but we're close. I think y'all would approve. On the west side, we're going to put up, there's 4 buildings going over there. There's a daycare in the bottom left, which is, I think it's a 10,000 square foot building. We've sold that piece of property to them. They'll be starting soon. We just finished up our plat and are turning in permits for buildings. The top right building is a 14,000 square foot building, and we've signed leases with a breakfast restaurant and an Indian restaurant. Each of those are about 3,500 square feet. And then to the left of that is that we're negotiating with a chicken wing restaurant. And then the bottom one is, it's still, you know, we're just trying to get tenants in there. And so back to the east, those buildings that are vertical, those will be ready to go. As soon as we dry it in and the permits start rolling in for finish out, they'll start doing that work. As soon as we get it in the dry, which means the windows, doors, and get a roof on it, they can start their interior finish outs. So those will all come around probably around March. Services will be in there and available for you guys to go in and do your thing. So anyway, is there any questions I can answer? I'm told it's going to be completed by the end of the year. And that's a Taylor Morrissey deal, that the residential developer that's over there. The question was, when will Robson Ranch, I'm sorry, Cleveland Gibbs Road finish from Robson to, you know, push all the way through to Harvest? And it'll be 4. And I'm told it's going to be completed by the end of the year. Yes, sir. So Robson's the very top road running east and west, and then the road that ties in that's 4-lane is Cleveland Gibbs, which will go back all the way over to 407. Yes, sir. That's above my pay grade, so. Good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, Cleveland Gibbs is something that we have been working on, and as he said, with Taylor Morrison, the developer over there, that should be completed by the end of the year. But I have some other good news. You know where the fire station is in Harvest? And you know that it's a frequent visitor here. Finally, thanks to Hillwood, we have got the road from where the fire station is all the way straight through to Robson Ranch Road will be completed by December of this year. So that'll really help us save lives out here because it'll be a straight shot. They won't have to zig and zag and go all through there. So on the road side, I think these are both good news. And somebody asked, I don't know. Let's see. Is this better? Okay. So someone asked about a stoplight, and I figured you would. So I checked again with the city of Denton Friday, sorry. And they do have in their budget for next year to put in a stoplight at the main entrance here at Robson Ranch. So that will be a big help, and we want to thank the city of Denton for agreeing to do that. Okay. Now, as you all came to hear, we're going to talk with Hillwood now. May I introduce our Hillwood guests? Okay, let's start down at this end. This is Andrew Piper, and he's the project manager for Landmark, a VP with Hillwood, for the single-family part, right? Next to Andrew is Kimberly Cole, who's a VP at Hillwood and the project manager for the mixed-use part of Landmark. Next to her is Angie Mastrocola, who is a senior VP, and she's here in case they make any mistakes. Okay. Hi, down at the end, Gina Terrell. And she is the one responsible for getting that road from the fire station. I mean, literally, Gina worked with this guy that was a real jerk. Thank you so much. We all appreciate it. So I'm now going to turn it over to Hillwood. It's my understanding they're going to have a presentation for you. And do you want questions at the end or as you're doing it, Andrew?
I think it'll go faster.
Okay, so y'all hold your questions till the end, and then they'll be glad to answer them. Thank you all for being here, and here's Hillwood.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello? Are you clicking? Okay. Well, thank you for having us here today. Again, Andrew Piper with Hillwood Communities. We are out here in this corridor developing communities such as Pecan Square, Harvest, new community in Justin called Tree Line. So y'all are probably very familiar with our projects. And Landmark, which you'll see here in a minute, is our next one. So Kim Cole is my colleague. The two of us are really taking point on this project from different perspectives. So Kim, if you want to just introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah. Good morning, y'all. Yeah. Hopefully you can hear me okay, right, in the back. Can you see everything okay? Okay, good. Well, welcome. We wanted to, we know that there was a lot of questions around what we're doing at Landmark, what we're focused on. I've personally been at Hillwood a little over 3 years now, working the Alliance program, so everything up and down the 35 corridor, all the industrial mixed-use development down at Alliance Town Center. That is what we focus on every day. We live and breathe the 35 corridor, as well as our communities team.
Yeah.
So you can see, a lot of you, if you're from here, you know that Alliance, Texas is about 27,000 acres, spans all the way across the northern part of Tarrant County and into Denton County. We have been very successful over the last 35 years of our development, generating over almost $120 billion in economic impact to the region, as well as 66,000 direct jobs that are created every day in Alliance. We hope that Alliance effects continues to move forward as we move into the Denton market. Our communities team has done a great job, as Andrew mentioned earlier, about bringing in quality development that we hope to leverage and continue to develop in kind.
Yeah, so I think it's important to mention, the Pro family started buying land out here back in the 80s and have grown it ever since. So we've been in this corridor for 35 plus years. We will be in this corridor for another 35 plus years. We are long the state of Texas, we're long North Texas, we're long this 35W corridor. It's one of the fastest growing corridors in the country, and so this is a great project for us. We see a lot of growth potential working its way up 35W. You can see all the different asset classes we've developed over the years, from single family to multifamily, industrial, airport, retail, hospitality, you name it. We've done it here at Alliance. So as Kim mentioned, we're really just kind of bringing that expertise and that experience in this corridor, just one exit north to Landmark, which is our furthest north piece of property in the Alliance corridor. Here's an aerial of it. Y'all have probably driven by it a million times. It's one of the most pristine, beautiful pieces of property, I believe, in North Texas. There's really not much like it with these canopied knobs. We've got great upland habitats. We've got great lowland habitats. We've been running cattle operations out here for the last 35 years. There's really no homesteads on this property today. There's just a few cattle operations ongoing and some oil and gas operations. So, but we've got about 5 miles of frontage on both sides of 35, the east side and the west side. We'll have 3 intersections in time, really Robson Ranch Road. All red, we'll kind of punch across kind of midway up the site. And then we've got Loop 288 to the north. So this is the southern limits of the city of Denton, Robson Ranch Road is. We are in the city of Denton, so we pay Denton taxes, just like everybody else. This is a municipal management district, which is a common financing structure in North Texas and throughout the state, where we levy taxes within our borders to pay for public infrastructure. So this is an MMD. Some of you might be familiar with that term, but it's an additional tax rate that we charge. We're Denton ISD, so we're really excited to be a part of Denton ISD. We've worked with them in the past in their district. We'll have 2 elementary schools and a middle school in time as we develop. Kim, anything to add on the aerial here? Yeah, I should mention, if you go back one slide, you know, we've owned this property for many, many years. It's been entitled several times. We really saw the growth in this corridor between Harvest and Pecan Square. Between those 2 communities, we're selling close to 1,000 homes per year. And so we know that those communities have a finite lifespan. We will eventually run out of home sites in those communities. Other communities in the area, Canyon Falls, are selling out. And so this is really meant to be really replacement product for our home building arm and also retail as well. But we started really updating our zoning back in 2018. Some of you may have been here for that. Spent about 2 years negotiating with the city, and culminating in an approval in April of 2020. And since then, we've been really at work behind the scenes, working on our planning efforts and getting our first phase of development teed up and ready to go. So this project really has been zoned and entitled, and we're kind of gearing up now with our plan the last 4 years to really move forward. So we're excited to show you more details of that in following slides.
You can go to the next slide. Well, I mean, you guys have probably driven past it multiple times as you go in and out of work, at home, visit your families, what so be it. It's a beautiful piece of property. We looked at it the same way that y'all do. We really want to embrace the land with our development and think about it long term. Go to the next slide. So as we start these planning processes, as Andrew mentioned earlier, we really start to dig into the history of the land. It came to our attention that there's only actually been 3 landowners. John Payne, who's pictured here above, the McCutcheon family, and the Perot family. All of them have ties into transportation, cattle, oil and gas, just you name it. And so it's kind of interesting that we're going to continue that tradition on with what we do here at Hillwood. Pilot Knob, everybody knows Pilot Knob. It's been around forever. We want to continue to embrace it. We want people to enjoy these knobs. We don't want them to be, we want them to be a part of the community. And that's really what we're about here at Landmark, as we focus on how do we build community around our development.
Yeah, I would say the city of Denton is, you know, really. Can you go back just one more slide? Yeah. So the city is just as passionate about Pilot Knob and these knobs overall and the upland habitats as we were. And so we established early on with the city that we would put the Pilot Knob into a legal conservation easement. So that top right photo there of Pilot Knob, I think about 80% of that knob is in protected ESA. So we cannot touch it. We cannot move anything. It's protected. It's held by the city. And so we hope that that's a nice beacon and landmark for this region for generations to come. And it'll really tie into an overall larger park system with the other knobs to the south. But we do have very, very strict conservation, preservation requirements in our zoning. We can't just go in and bulldoze all of these knobs. And so we're going to be very cautious and judicious about how we develop in and around these knobs going forward. But as Kim alluded to, this is really the natural treasure of this land, and so we really want to lean into it and embrace it in our land planning.
I think it goes without saying it's a special place. We can go to the next slide. And for that, we really named it as such, Pilot Knob being the beacon of the development, being the beacon that brought a lot of people here for generations as they crossed into Texas and actually started to settle. Go to the next slide. This is just a quick video that we wanted to share with you guys.
Oh, hopefully it works. Okay, can't do videos. We'll go to the next slide.
Okay. Well, it would have given you a great intro into the vision. It's an amazing video. It really is. But ultimately, it culminates in the idea that we ideated on to come up with the new name for the development, which is Landmark. It was really named after Pilot Knob. It was thinking about it from a landmark of Denton, a landmark to the community, a landmark for us at Hillwood. I mean, Andrew and I, this is probably the largest project that Hillwood, the umbrella of Hillwood, has done together in this corridor. So, we just have to make sure that we give it the justice it deserves, right? So we're going to try to let the land lead us. And everything you're going to see from us today is really focused on how do we create that environment and that community for all.
Yeah, well said. We've covered a few of these. The project itself is 3,200 acres. About a third of it is really undevelopable for one reason or another, whether it be floodplain or setbacks, easements, et cetera. So we've got a really great natural corridor throughout with lowlands, uplands, and everything in between. We'll have really a first-class, state-of-the-art trail system, both natural and paved trails. Two on-site elementaries, one middle. A high school is planned for the northern community north of us called Coal Ranch. So Denton ISD will have K through 12 on the west side of the highway in time. We're planning on our single-family side about 6,000 to 7,000 homes. Our multifamily group's planning about 3,000 multifamily units, plus or minus, and then we've got zoning for anywhere around 5 million square feet of retail, hospitality, office, campus, really you name it. So, and on both sides of the highway. And then in the middle, kind of central to the west side of the ranch, we'll show you in our land plan here in a second. We've kind of, there it is. Yeah. So this is the full ranch, the full 3,200 acres. Everything in yellow is, generally speaking, kind of planned for retail. We do have a lot of flexibility in our zoning, so while it might be yellow today, we could certainly tweak those boundaries lines, but this is really kind of our general plan moving forward today. So you've got retail on both sides of the highway. They're in yellow. But you see that green line that kind of circles the knobs. That's our loop road. We've kind of really embraced those knobs with a loop road. It's about 3.5 miles around. It's about 300 plus acres kind of inside that loop road. We're really calling that our park district. That's going to be a really special opportunity, this confluence of single family and retail and entertainment, and we really think that's going to be the center attraction, kind of the heartbeat of the community inside that loop road, with the knobs as a really fantastic backdrop. Great trail system, outdoor retail opportunities, restaurants, et cetera. And then working your way further away from the highway, you get into the orange, which is really our single-family program. And then everything you see, kind of the multicolors, kind of in the bottom of the screen, working its way up through the middle of the project. That's our first phase of single-family. There you go. So just for your bearings, Robson Ranch Road is on the bottom of the screen. We're about, I don't know, less than a quarter mile from the highway. You'll turn in, you'll kind of go up and kind of hit the knobs, you'll hit a roundabout and then work your way up as we start to build that loop road around the knobs. So our first phase of single family is planned for 750 home sites. We haven't announced yet, but we will shortly, 9 home builders from the Metroplex. That's a great mixture of public and private home builders. Really, we think the best in the Metroplex. And we have 7 different product types, ranging from our smallest is a 40-foot wide lot, which is a 30-foot wide home. That's rear entry. And then we go up to a 45-foot front entry lot. We have a 50-foot lot, we have a 60-foot lot, we have a 70-foot lot, and then we have a 70-foot rear entry lot. So we've got a really great variety of home sites for our 9 builders. Typically, we'll have 2 builders per product. Our entry price point today is not nearly as low as we'd like it to be. Pecan Square and Harvest, 5-10 years ago, we're starting in the 2s, mid 2s. Those homes today are going for probably the mid 4s, and up to, we'll probably approach $1 million in our first phase. As we develop additional phases, phase 2, 3, and on, we'll look to expand our product offerings to both lower density, bigger lots, and higher density, smaller lots. We're likely going to be clustering our higher density around that kind of entertainment district, kind of closer to the action, if you will. And then working our way west towards Robson Ranch, we'll transition into more lower density product. So this is just our first phase. We couldn't possibly do it all in one phase. We've got to kind of work our way into it. And so we felt like this was a good approach to come to market with on day one. All of our product types are kind of mixed together, blended together. The purple lots are the rear entries. We've got 7 pocket parks. We've got great access to the knob just on the other side of that road. We're actually putting our amenity center on top of a high point in the trees, up and in the knobs. We think it's going to be really a one-of-a-kind amenity, really in the country, not just here in North Texas. We've got some renderings of that here shortly. So really a great plan for us. Again, we're going to come off of Robson Ranch Road for our first phase. Kind of the right side of that entry road is planned for retail, which Kim will get into here in a minute. Retail and mixed use. Our western boundary, the kind of that sharp line on the left side of phase 1, that's the overhead power lines y'all have probably seen. So there is a gap. Well, you can see it in that. Well, maybe some of you can see it up there.
Upper corner there.
Yeah.
There's a gap.
So we're not really right up against Robson Ranch just yet. We're kind of using that natural barrier of the overheads to kind of define our first phase. And we'll likely just continue north on the east side of those power lines and kind of start to finish out the loop roads. So before we get adjacent to Robson. That was a lot. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions.
Do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah, next slide. And we broke ground on this. Y'all have probably seen some equipment out there, and we'll get into the timeline later, but that first phase is moving fast. So, with these great upland, lowland habitats, these great canopied knobs, we really feel like it's an incredible opportunity to lean into the natural environment out here and really partner with some really great local partners, affiliates in the region to really amplify this area. I mean, we've got this great canvas to work within. Let's partner. Let's bring in great partners, including the schools, to really activate these natural areas and promote continued education through STEAM programming, STEM programming. They added an A for art, by the way. That's kind of a new thing recently. Trying to keep up with that. So really important for us to kind of lean into the natural aspects of the property and also lean into our school district partnerships as well providing really great outdoor learning opportunities for our children in the community. And we do have many children typically in our communities. So next slide. Yeah, so this is our first phase, amenity clubhouse, if you will. It's really on a high point, tucked in the trees on the west side of the southern knob. Really, you get up and in here, you can't hear cars, traffic, you can't see the highway. It's really a very serene area, and we think it's going to be a really great home for this amenity and our residents to enjoy and get access to nature. You can see the architecture here. We've really opened it up with a lot of big windows so that even though you're inside, you really feel like you're a part of the greater natural environment here. So we've got offices, a little clubhouse, kitchen, games, areas for residents to rent out. We'll have our typical HOA staff here. We've got restrooms, a pavilion, a pool, a lookout tower, kind of looking out to the west. So really fantastic. You can see this the building's on a high point. It starts to fall off. So to limit the impact to the ground below, we're using a piered system, which is pretty unique. So. Great. Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Retail.
Yeah.
Now the fun stuff.
I know, right? So we have spent probably, Andrew and his team have a head start because retail typically follows the rooftops, right? So just earlier this year, we started kicking off our land planning process, and our land planning process will cover all 900 acres and start to evaluate what this is going to look like and how this will develop over time. I think naturally, because we talked about it a little bit earlier, our only real access to the property today is really at Robson Ranch Road and 35. So that's naturally where our first retail development will go. We have come up with a program we think fits and works in that for the market. Again, the market's going to tell us what it wants to go here. We can want it all day long, but we just really need to have a flexible plan. So what we're focused on right now is this first corner. We're thinking maybe 200,000 to 250,000 square feet, just depending on the density. Roughly 600 units of apartments that would come into the first phase. Now, this is probably a 10-year window of development. I would say just this corner by itself. If you think about the time frame, we're very much limited by our access and not having the frontage roads on 35. So I think you'll see more activity happen along this corridor as those frontage roads come in over time. We really were leaning into the open space and creating more of an environment like we did at Alliance Town Center, which is pictured here. Bluestem Park, if you guys haven't been, it's a great spot. These are two pictures of that outdoor retail and restaurant patio kind of environment adjacent to nature. And those are some of the inspiration things that get us excited about how we think about Landmark long term. Next slide.
Yeah, I would just say the corners probably first, just kind of limitations, access, utilities, et cetera, but obviously a lot more retail opportunities up and down the highway, both sides. So you could end up with different kind of retail, neighborhoods, if you will, just kind of maybe some specialty retail. Maybe there's a office campus component. We're being very open and flexible with our land plan to accommodate really some big ideas as well.
Well, and that's really what the planning piece that we're going through now will start to identify where those things may want to, where we have these special places that we want to do something a little different, and where things are more traditional neighborhood services. That's really what we're focused on. And so in concert with that, one of the things that came out of our visioning, we actually sat down with the City of Denton Economic Development Partnership, listened to the different business owners in the community, listened to the way they talk about Denton to figure out how we bring Denton down, the fabric of Denton, what it is, into our development and start to have that be a part of the community, not separate, but a part of the Denton community. Next slide. And where we really started to lean into that was around the 300-acre park district that we talked about. What type of entertainment uses or amphitheater or any type of use that could come in and create this really great natural environment that you don't get to experience anyplace else in the Metroplex. We feel like we've got a great opportunity to connect trails, to connect food and beverage, to connect community shops. Maybe it's not a golf cart, but maybe it's a bike shop, right? For people to get into these knobs and start to explore them, start to understand them, be a part of it. Because it really doesn't have, there's no other place in the Metroplex that has this amenity. So we're pretty special to have it. Next slide. Yes, sir.
Walking trails within Knob Hill there, are they open to the public or just the residents of that development?
They will be open to the public. They're not yet.
Yeah,
So,
you can't go up there
yeah,
tomorrow.
as we develop, we'll open up new sections, and we'll work with the city on finding the best ways to weave trails through there. Denton is certainly very protective of these areas, and so we need to work closely with them on how we develop these trails appropriately without impacting the environment too much. So it will happen over time, just as we move through.
All of these trails will happen as we develop. So we wouldn't go and open everything up all at once. It would be a progressed as development happens. We would, as infrastructure came along, we would add trails as it made sense to add trails in those sections. Hopefully that helped answer your question. The Park and Entertainment District, we talked a little bit about it just a second ago. I think there's a really great opportunity to introduce mountain biking and other types of biking activities that you really don't get to experience in the Metroplex. And so we're really excited about leading into that. Go to the next slide. Do you want, yeah. So where we are right now, we're just beginning. I know everybody's like, oh my God, it's going to happen tomorrow, but this is you think about how long it took to develop Alliance just today. Now we're in a better tailwind environment. We've got way more velocity, but I still think this is a 20-year development. So where we are today, we're actually underway planning, as I mentioned. We're talking to the market to see if there's anybody that might want to be in this location. Andrew and his team have broken ground. And if you go out there today, you'll see Gina's got a bunch of big equipment out there moving dirt around with the hopes of them bringing in their model homes in the spring of 26. I don't think our corner is going to deliver until probably 27 or 28, just depending on the activities that, the market interest that we receive. But hopefully it happens faster. But that's kind of what we're planning on.
Yeah, so, our development will take over a year. So we've just now started. We should be finishing up end of next year, rolling into 2026, getting our model homes up for our 9 builders. And our target really is a spring of 26 grand opening. And pre-sales might begin earlier than that. So we could have our first residents, by fall of 26, winter of 26. Our amenity center would kind of wrap up probably early 27. And then, we're already working on our second phase planning right now just to kind of stay ahead of things. And so we'll just kind of continue phase by phase, for the foreseeable future. Not all of our phases will be 750 lots. Some might be smaller, some might be larger. It will really kind of depend on market drivers. But there is a strong demand for housing in this corridor. There's a relative shortage, especially, again, as you look out in the next couple of years with Harvest and Pecan, Canyon Falls falling off. So we do think there's a strong demand here for housing. So that was a lot in a little bit of time. I'm sure you guys have a bunch of questions. We'd be happy to, I don't know how we're doing on time, but we'd be happy to take them.
Yeah, where do we start? How do we?
Yeah.
We want to take a number.
So, yes.
Go ahead here.
Start in the front.
I'm sure you're familiar with the
Canyon Falls neighborhoods up on FM 1171, 55 miles an hour, nice turnout lanes. And so when you come down Robson Ranch Road, it's 50 miles an hour. Anytime somebody wants to turn left into the ridge, they stop the entire left-hand traffic. If you want us to slow down, you want to turn into Orangewood, you got to stop the entire right-hand lane of traffic. There's only 2 lanes. Are you planning turnout lanes like they have on 1171 so that when they want to turn in these 6,000 homes and when they turn in, they can actually get out of the moving lane?
Yep.
Yeah, so the Robson Ranch Road improvements, there will be right-hand turn lanes, but the bigger left-hand movements have to be taken care of with a construction widening project that needs to take place. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll have a stoplight at our main entrance as well. So
Yeah, they'll have a stop,
That
and
will-
there'll be a right
that will
decel
help.
lane that goes in. Yes.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
In the pictures that you showed, it didn't indicate that there were outer roads on either side of I-35 going north. Will there be outer roads?
Yeah, we'll have frontage roads adjacent to 35W. TxDOT's working now on plans to widen, expand main lanes, and then add access roads. So that'll be a nice relief valve for traffic for sure. Yep.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
How do your development plans
Okay.
collaborate with the TxDOT schedule
How do our plans?
How do our plans?
for fixing the underpass and adding frontage roads on?
Yeah.
So the question is, how does the TxDOT planned improvements at Robson Ranch Road impact or coincide with our development?
Correct, particularly the underpass on Crawford Road and them adding frontage roads.
Okay, so the underpass and frontage roads. So we don't, that's a TxDOT let project. I believe it's scheduled to be let in, 2028, I think is a letting date, or 26.
That your housing development will occur before the underpass is widened?
Yes,
Yes.
that's correct. But not all of it, just these 700 lots. Well, the retail will likely lag considerably, the residential considerably.
Well, no, that's 2 lanes.
Well, we have,
Yeah.
sorry, there's questions around the interchange at Robson Ranch Road and Interstate 35. And I think we've answered it to say that it is not the question was, is it like 407? And it's not like 407. Robson is 4 lanes, 407 is 2 today. I thought you were referring to the road itself.
Okay. Well.
Okay.
Yeah, I know TxDOT has a lot of public hearings that public can participate in. We don't have a ton of input into how those are designed. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Well, we don't control, unfortunately, we don't control their schedule.
I think the question is, do you work with them though in trying to make sure it's the best collaboration as it can be? Right? So that they're not doing something
Yeah.
with you're doing construction. So I think that's what her question is though, is are you working with TxDOT so that you guys aren't colliding at the same time as you're doing things at different times to try to make it the best you can for
We coordinate often with TxDOT. That's correct. We do.
Yep. Hold on. Pink
Okay.
or purple shirt.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, I'll repeat the question once she finishes.
The same concern about our underpass. We now have cars lined up just to get out of here in the morning under that bridge on 35 and Robson Ranch Road. And that's for right now, we already have a problem. But what's going to happen when we get all your construction vehicles in from, how many different home builders are going to come in there in another year? And where's that all going to go?
Yeah, they're going on the roads just like everybody else. I mean,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Okay, so the question was, centered around where are the what roads are the home builders going to use to come in and build the homes? And the answer was Robson Ranch Road. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would say that what Burroughs is doing is phenomenal. You look at this 35 corridor. I've lived here in Texas my whole life, and I know the Burroughs story, and it's exciting what they've done out here. And I think you guys continue to do things. Maybe a question to the county commissioner. These questions everybody are posing here, I think the state and the county are way behind. They ought to be working with developers like you, and there ought to be a plan to do expansions of the roads ahead of your growth north. And I know we're to catch-22 now. You are where you are, but I'd say to the county commissioner, I'm sure you guys are working on this, but the leaders in this community are grossly failing on this topic. Grossly. And I don't fault Hillwood. They're doing their job. They got this beautiful land and they're going to develop it. But our community it needs to catch up. Separate from TxDOT. TxDOT is, if I understand it right, they're controlling the corridor. But what about the crossroads? Why don't we have more 1171s going up?
That's a state road, and the state is working with us. We have a plan, and in fact, we've talked about the very thing y'all are asking about, which is that intersection and getting under I-35. There are plans in place. Nothing happens overnight. Please know that we are working on it. We have always said,
I understand that, but my question is, going forward, we got to do something different. If we keep doing the same thing we're doing, that's the definition.
excuse me, what would you want us to do that would be different?
Well, I think the planners, the state needs to start catching up. In other words, when I look at the latest plan that was presented here earlier this year, maybe last year, about all these road developments around here, there was no discussion of widening the underpasses, as this lady said, and all this. I'm just saying that.
I can tell you that is in the plan now. We have looked at it. I can't make it happen yesterday, sir. We're doing everything we can to make it happen tomorrow. So as much as we can. And let me just invite you all right now. We're going to have later in the year, we're going to have another road update like we have had in the past, where we talk about all these roads. We'd love to have your input. Come and learn what we're doing. And thanks to the bond issue that you all voted, we will have money to do a whole lot of these things now. So I appreciate and understand your concern.
We'll also have a new intersection at Landmark at Allred. I think it's now, what's it called, John Payne on the
John Payne.
John Payne on the west side, and then it turns into Allred. But that'll be an intersection planned for the TxDOT expansion. They're planning all of these new intersections and flyovers, and so, yeah, it's just a matter of time. We want them probably more than anybody, or just as much as you all do. It would really promote our growth as well, and so we're pushing on our end as much as we can and as much as it's worth.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Utilities, how are y'all going to address increased requirement for water, electricity? Is that part of this plan, additional water towers?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, we worked with the city of Denton. The question was on utilities, water, sewer, electric. We've worked with the city very early on our infrastructure plans in collaboration with Coal Ranch, which is the same size project to our north. And the two projects came together and really focused on regional infrastructure planning, financing, and phasing. So we've got capacity built into the network. We're working with Denton now. Our second phase will bring in, I think, a 7-mile sewer line that kind of goes cross country from the east side under 35 to Coal Ranch to Landmark, and actually will help pick up some sewer from Robson Ranch as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of utility planning behind the scenes.
And will we have copies of this electronic presentation available to us somewhere?
I believe they're recording it. That's what I heard. So I'm not sure how to access that, but
They just told us we can send a link out to the.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your infrastructure question. There is a lot of it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know that you guys partnered with coal development to get all of these two developments with legislative things passed and your MMD and all of that. Do you guys have any idea when coal development is about to start? Because between the two of you, that's supposed to be like 15,000 homes.
Yeah, that's a great question. I certainly don't want to speak on behalf of the Cole family or their management team. All I know is kind of what I see transpire with, through council. I know they have a preliminary plat for their first phase approved. I believe they received an extension, a 1-year extension on that. But I'm not aware of any immediate construction plans. They would need to get their final plat approved before they move forward, and I'm not aware of that today. So I would guess they're certainly behind us, but it's another big long-term project, so they might just be waiting for the market.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So good question. Back, let's see, 6 years ago when we started these negotiations with the city, I think there was some stakeholder input from Robson Ranch. I'm not sure exactly who it was, whether it was a committee or what, but we did have several meetings, maybe just like this, and I think there was a consensus to really keep traffic out of the two communities. So, there is no punch-throughs from Landmark to Robson, for better or worse. So, you're going to have to go out to Robson Ranch Road and kind of come, over and around. You could take a golf cart down to Robson Ranch Road, I guess. I wouldn't probably recommend it, but
I would
yeah.
highly check the legality of that before you did it. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the number one question, and I'm sure we can do a poll here, is from a developer standpoint, I understand you come in and you build wonderful homes, great infrastructure to draw families, but the one thing that is always failing and last is a grocery store. So, I hit the road, that's what our guys do, is they went to their meeting. I have been told for 9 years that a grocery store was coming, and if there happens to be one that's going to be developed in North Lake, I would say we've already outgrown it. So why does, from a developer standpoint, why is a place to buy groceries the last, what appears to be the last thought process when you go in and build all of these homes that are going to require people buying food, just from a developer standpoint?
Did everybody hear that question? Okay. Well, she's wanting to know when we're going to get a grocery store, and why we don't plan that better in advance. And I think I just have to say that most of that's not unfortunately. If we could bring it tomorrow, we would. But we don't control the grocery end user. They have to come into the market and see that the market is ready for a grocery store for them to invest in that for their business purposes. But that's not without saying that you could go market to them to your blue in the face, and they just won't come till they're ready to come. Does that make sense?
So you solicit grocery chains to come into
Yeah.
your development, but they don't see the potential for success with Texas.
Until they do.
Yeah,
Until they do.
They do a lot of lengthy studies
There's a
and
ton of it.
traffic studies, demand studies, population studies, and we've worked with probably every grocery you can think of over the years, and so we know them all. As Kim said, if we could have them tomorrow, we certainly would. I think, the whole grocery industry was disrupted a few years back when Amazon purchased Whole Foods. The whole industry just went to a screeching halt right about the time when we really wanted one, and we were getting deep into some conversations down at 407, and everything just kind of halted. And then every grocery has kind of rethought their plans, their stores, their layouts, their to-go, their pickup, their in-store dining. And so that whole industry has kind of changed. I think we all notice that we're underserved here in this region. We agree. I think the demographics will tell you that, you know, we could use 2 or 3 grocery stores in this region. So I think it's just a matter of when. Unfortunately, that's not a great answer. It will happen. It's just a matter of when. And I think we're certainly getting closer. The more rooftops that Robson builds and Cole Ranch and Hunter Ranch, I mean, it's just a matter of time. And so we just want to be ready on our site that we've got a layout that works for a grocer and that we can kind of plug them in.
Yes, ma'am.
Hang in there.
Okay, as a developer, how often do developers meet with DOT so that the infrastructure can be built around what your plans are?
Yeah, I would say it's a critical component to what we do, and there's a lot of different players when it comes to roadway infrastructure, and so you know, we're talking to everybody that matters. You know, we're talking to the county, we're talking to TxDOT, we're talking to the city of Denton, and so you know, we're constantly planning. Again, we've got to look out ahead and see what we need for future phases and plan accordingly. So we're doing our best to stay ahead of the curve and talk to all the meaningful players to make sure that the infrastructure is in place. Otherwise, we can't do anything. So hopefully that answers your.
Yes, sir.
So the MDU portion of your development, where exactly, or has it been determined where exactly that's going to be located? I mean, is it going to be in that corner, or is it going to be further up, or do you know exactly?
So where's the mixed use going to go? Well, the zoning itself, all along the frontage is MU by right, so it has the ability to be office, you know, retail, food and beverage, soft goods, hospital, medical office. Every category that's not single-family residential for the most part can go in that MU.
Well, I'm talking about the multi-dwelling units, though. The apartments.
Oh, the apartments.
Yes.
There will be some level of apartments in that first kind of corner that I talked about. It'll probably be later in the development cycle.
So it'll be kind of spread out throughout.
Oh yes, it's not going to be concentrated into one area. What we'll try to do is plan it in locations where it's amenitized with F&B and retail and.
Over the retail like they do in Roanoke and some other.
It could be down the line. It could be, yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. Sorry, he's had his head up front. Sorry.
So you described there's going to be no cross connected to the neighborhoods. What is the buffer on the other side of the power lines going to look like? Because our neighbors are going to have to do what? Are they going to do apartment complexes? What's the buffer? Is it going to be natural? Is it going to be firm?
Yeah.
Did everybody hear the question?
Yeah, the question was, what's the border between Landmark and Robson, kind of west of the power lines? Again, that's our lowest density product, and then we went so far as, and this was all part of previous discussions with Robson 6 years ago. The homes directly, I guess they're backing to Robson Ranch, are minimum, I think, 60-foot lots, and then behind those lots there's I want to say a 30 or 35-foot kind of buffer. And there's easements in there anyway, but there is a buffer. Again, I think it's 30 or 35 feet, and then you've got 60-foot lots. And then the back wall is required to be, on our side, masonry. So I guess you'll have Robson back of lot. It looks like you guys have split rail fencing. There'll be 30, 35 feet, and then you'll have a wall. No, sir. Right now, it's probably later phases down the road. I think we're going to stay east of the power lines and kind of keep working our way around those knobs, and then at some point we'll kind of jump over. I will say there's a component of retail along Robson Ranch Road that we could maybe complement what Craig's doing with some more kind of neighborhood retail components that we could kind of introduce on that corner. Adjacent to Robson Ranch. I think y'all have a gas well pad there. So.
Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
When will you start building homes in
Yeah.
of the power lines.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you today. I can tell you our first phase will take us 1.5 years to build and 2 years to sell. And then we start our second phase north of that. That's another 4 years. So, I mean, we're talking, a good amount of time. I can't give you an exact. Yeah, I did not say that, by the way.
Yeah, that was not
For
me.
those watching online.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry. Yes, sir. What? I'll come back to you.
Did the map show that there's future commercial development space on the corner of 35 and Crawford Road, Robson Ranch there? Did I see that?
Yeah. So the question was, did you see? Is there? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. That would be the first commercial. So the question was, did we have commercial land at Robson Ranch and 35W? And we do. It would be right at that corner. Do you want another chicken place? I'll let the leasing guys know. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Looking at the map that you had up there a while ago regarding retail and commercial down on the 30 side, it may just be me, but it looked pretty slim. Is there room for big boxes? Are you planning on, if there's room, that hard corner there that you're talking about, are y'all planning several big boxes in there, or is it mostly going to be smaller retail and commercial in that area? Didn't look like it's going very far back. It could be this visual.
Yeah, I think that's still what we're trying to explore as we go up and down the corridor. I think that immediate corner probably has some anchor that makes people want to be there and some neighborhood service type elements to it. But we're still kind of exploring how those boxes move around and what it's going to look like, and testing the market to see what's out there that's interested in being there.
But y'all are considering things like large boxes, like a Home Depot, grocery store, things along those lines.
Those would all be people I would consider as a box or an anchor that might draw. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir.
Going back to the gentleman's comments earlier about roads, access, should have all been addressed yesterday. Spot on, perfect. It would be great public relations if Hillwood and Perot family to use their considerable influence in the state of Texas with the county commissioners to get some of these projects accelerated, which is possible. I've lived in Denton County over 40 years. I have seen road projects accelerated through the proper influence. Y'all have the proper influence. County commissioners need motivation. A lot of motivation, apparently, because we sat through an hour-and-a-half road project thing, which was very good. We had all the 4 mayors here. They did a great job. We had TxDOT. But there was no urgency. This is creating urgency, and you're just going to have a lot of unhappy Robson residents for the next 6, 10, 12 years dealing with construction traffic, etc., on Robson Ranch Road, dealing with that bridge mess, etc. So my encouragement, not a question, encouragement to you is to y'all use y'all's considerable influence to accelerate the necessary road projects so that we don't have to leave at 6 a.m. to go up to Denton to go to the grocery store while we're dealing with all the problems.
I guess everybody heard that question.
Sorry?
I said, I guess everybody heard that question.
Yeah.
Or that statement.
Well, it's safe to say that we are, part of the discussion. We're one of the largest landowners in this corridor. So, yeah, we're doing our best too. It benefits us. And so we are pushing with all of our local leaders, just like y'all are. And unfortunately, it's just not the fastest process, but assume we're involved and fighting for these same infrastructure projects because they are beneficial to the region. So,
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Can we assume from all of this that the last thing we heard that there was a Vietnam fund down at 407 freeway that is now delayed again?
That it was, the Tom Thumb was delayed again?
Because we understood it was going to be under construction now to be open a year from now.
I'm not up on those particulars
Yeah,
around that.
I don't know the answer to that, unfortunately.
So I apologize. As soon as I know something about what's going on at 407, I'll let you know. Yes, ma'am.
The question was about the wildlife environment in and around the ranch. I'd say yes, we're very cognizant of the wildlife impact. You know, there's snakes out there bigger than me, and there's coyotes and all kinds. So yes, we are cognizant of that. Denton, City of Denton has a environmental services department that is also cognizant of it and keeping us accountable. So we've worked with them on their efforts for wildlife corridors and just making sure that, you know, there's some good wildlife connectivity to the overall region. So I'd say it's ongoing, but we are aware of the impacts, and again, we are preserving a majority of these knobs and almost all of Pilot Knob. And then, you know, how do we find ways through these finger tributaries to kind of get wildlife back and forth between the uplands and lowlands?
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about your amenity center. That, if I understood right, when you said it before, you were building your amenity center in Pilot Knob?
No, it's the southern knob. We don't have a name for it
Well,
yet.
it's actually up there on the, it's that red
Yeah.
dot in the southern knob called Long Point.
Okay, that's what I was wondering is were you needing to tear down part of, or clear cut or whatever, part of the knob area that you said you were saving in order to build your amenity center?
Yes, we do have an allowance, some impact allowance in these knobs. It's a minority percentage, and so we have impacted some of that tree canopy in there. First, we went through. Well, we tagged all the trees. There's thousands. Then we went through and took out all the dead, diseased, and dying trees, and then all the trees we're protecting. We've got a ton of tree protection out there. So City of Denton's out there constantly just making sure that we're doing what we have to do under their code to protect the trees and the surrounding environment. So,
Well, and also I think the part of the amenity that the big trees around that that amenity center.
Yeah, that's
It's
part of
really
the
a part of
part of the vibe. So.
What I was wondering is it looked like it was going to be in, the amenity center was going to be in there. That's where the pool and everything was going to go. So I was wondering, you know, how much of the knob of any one of those knobs were you going to have to take down? I think you mentioned 20% or that 80% was.
Yeah, we're I think blended. It's a 60% preservation of these three knobs, blended between the three. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. No, wait.
Landmark a gated community?
No, ma'am. It'll be open. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Question also, when we're talking about the knobs being really
Yeah.
and we're talking about the trails and bikes and all that, are they just gonna be going all through those knobs? Because that doesn't seem like that's really protecting the natural.
Yeah, and that's where we're working with the City of Denton to make sure our plans are accommodating to their code and to the environment. And you know, it's tricky because if you don't do any planning up and in there, people are going to get up there anyway, and they'll start to make their own trails. And so then you're going to have a spider web of kind of homemade trails versus, you know, maybe some more defined, clearly defined trails. So, you know, once this is open and we've built the loop road, I mean, people are going to be all over these things. And so, you know, with that in mind, what can we do kind of proactively to make sure that there's, you know, somewhat of a plan in place? So we are very cognizant. We're spending a lot of time behind the scenes just talking through the impacts, the access to the public, safety, security, all these things are coming into play. The homelessness maybe coming down from the city. So, we're trying to kind of get ahead of some of these topics sooner than later.
Yes, sir.
So we've got 2 in our first phase. We've got our entry, and then we've got a secondary entrance, and then there's a collector on the west side near Robson. That'll be another. And then I don't know, Kim, how many you're going to have at the commercial.
We might get 2, maybe 3.
Full
Mostly,
intersections or just kind of turns?
Just right turns.
Right turns.
There might be 1 full intersection.
And then our main entrance, we've worked with the group across the street, which is in Argyle, ETJ. We've worked with them, and we've lined up our entry with them. So our main entry and that intersection with the stoplight will line up with the development across the street.
Yes, sir.
Two-part question. 407 Route City, hasn't that interchange been let already?
Not to my knowledge. I know that they've acquired, but Diane might know more.
Second part, I'm surprised they got commercial zoning abutting your knobs right up to the canopies. Can you describe the potential commercial use for those areas inside the newsroom?
Yeah. If anything, we've seen the past couple of years, it was already persistent in our developments, but access and proximity to nature is really the best amenity you can offer your tenants. Even more so, kind of post-COVID, especially these campuses. Just having, like, we've got Charles Schwab out at Circle T in Westlake. I mean, that's so premier because of its access and proximity to that beautiful ranch. So, and this loop road will have a trail around it. So it's like a 3.5 mile trail. So if you've been to Dallas and you know the Katy Trail or White Rock Lake, they have the White Rock Trail that goes around the lake. And so, it ends up becoming this great artery. And when you've got corporate tenants or retail tenants, they can get on a trail and kind of do a 5-minute walk, a 10-minute walk, 30-minute walk during their lunch break, walk to lunch. Just kind of having that interaction, I think, is going to be a huge draw. So that's part of our programming. We don't quite know how that's going to look yet. We think there's an opportunity for maybe some what we call recreational retail. Think of like, a beer garden or a coffee shop, that kind of spills out on a DG garden with some lights and live music, and just kind of how do you kind of engage that? I'm sorry. A beer garden. Okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll mark you down for that. Okay.
Multifamily is in your commercial zoning footprint, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Sir, may I thank you for your question about 407 and all that. And that was something I wanted to bring out to you all. We have so much construction going on right now in Precinct 4 and across the entire county. Are y'all aware almost 100 people a day move into Denton County? That's a huge amount of people. We hit the million population mark 5 years before we expected to. So we've got a whole lot of today's stuff we're having to deal with. Let me just point out that 377 is under construction now and will be for some time. We are clearing out the swamp. We're bringing it north. It's going to go through Argyle and go eventually through Denton, clear up to the county line. And then as far as 407, there are big plans for 407. I'm sure you all know it's a feeder street for Harvest, for Pecan Square, and for other developments, as well as the people who are already living on the east side of 35. That's going to be a big project. We've got it funded. We're beginning to work on it now. So just so you all understand, when we partner with TxDOT, which we do all the time, they're responsible for all the federal and state roads. We do help. We usually do a 25% match for whatever that project is. So there's only X amount that the county can do. We only have X amount of dollars. We continue to sell the bonds that you all so graciously voted us, and now that the interest rates are going down, that's going to be even better. But please know, we are what we call shovel ready on almost everything that we can. What that means is that we've got the engineering done. Engineering is going on all over this county as we speak for these roads. We've got that engineering ready so that when funds become available, we can get projects. Just to give you an example, down in Harris County, I-45, I believe, is what goes down in Harris County. They had a big project approved from TxDOT. They couldn't get their engineering done. So guess what? That money ended up coming up here to Denton County for another project. And that's what we believe is a smart way to try to deal with today as well as tomorrow. I appreciate y'all understanding that we can't just dig a hole and then plug it in as a road. Yes, ma'am. Yes, and it's a long way out. I'll tell you again, if y'all would like, we'll do another road update out here for all of these things that are important to y'all, because I think you want to know, and I try to send out from TxDOT to my newsletter list when they're going to have some things closed, when they're going to be working on them, so y'all can plan. Yes, sir. Now, which projects are you talking about? The development projects? Y'all, that is private property. We can't just say, Hillwood, you can't do any more. You can't. Would you like to tell Ross Perot that? I don't think so. You have to remember there are private property rights in this country. And so we can't step on those when the government is trying to make things better for its citizens. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have a policy that when developers are coming in, we do require them to be sure that the roads running to their development that are either county roads or private roads are built and done. We cannot control state roads or federal roads. That's just the way our government's set up. Pardon? Robson Ranch Road is a county road, okay? But almost all the others that we're talking about are state roads. And believe me, we do lean on TxDOT. I have the cell phone of the area engineer, and we talk frequently about what's coming up next, how come. And I have asked several questions about that overpass there at 35 and Robson Ranch Road. So I appreciate all the concerns. I share them. I drive these roads every day, too. So I hope you all understand we really are doing as much as we can, as quickly as we can. We're selling bonds from the county once a month to get money in our coffers to keep doing all these projects. Again, would you all like to come to a formal road presentation to see what we're doing and when it'll be done? I'll get one set up within the next 30 to 45 days. Okay. I can. I'm sorry, say again? I'll tell you what, I can ask their engineer to come, but y'all have to promise to be nice to her. I mean, you know, she only gets X amount of days and time and dollars as well. So right now, I'd like to really thank Hillwood for being here today.
Thank you.
Y'all have done a great job. You really have.
Yeah.
And we're proud to have you as the major developer in Denton County. And keep up the good work, y'all.
Thank you,
and
Diane.
I appreciate y'all coming today.
Can I just add,